On July 30, 2010, three men, Leslie Todd Parvin, Edgar Lopez, and Pablo Gutierrez Guzman, were drinking together in a backyard in Richland County, South Carolina. At some point during the afternoon, an argument erupted between them. Leslie drew a handgun from his waistband and fatally shot Edgar and Pablo. While the exact cause of the altercation remains unclear, Leslie fled the scene immediately after the shooting, driving to Louisiana in his green Kia minivan. Once in Louisiana, Leslie shaved his head and destroyed the gun used in the killings, as well as the minivan. For a few days, he managed to evade authorities. However, investigators began reviewing license plate records for green Kia minivans registered in the state. A witness had reported a partial license plate number to the police, which provided a crucial lead. Acting on a hunch, officers used Google Maps Street View to check Leslie's registered address. There, they spotted a green minivan matching the witness's description, complete with the reported license plate. With the evidence mounting against him, Leslie's capture became inevitable. On August 19th, a relative brought him back to his home in the Windsor Lake area, where he was arrested on 2 counts of murder. He was later sentenced to 35 years in prison. During the investigation, it was revealed that Leslie was a 20-year Army veteran who had completed 5 overseas deployments. He had been diagnosed with PTSD in 2007, according to his father's testimony. The stress and trauma from his military service in Iraq and Afghanistan may have influenced his behavior that day. After 2 decades of serving his country, Leslie did not receive the mental health support he needed to transition to civilian life peacefully. Instead, 2 innocent men lost their lives, and Leslie now faces the consequences of his actions. At 75 years old, when he is finally released from prison, he will re-enter a world vastly different from the one he left behind. In July 2018, Channel 4 released a deeply disturbing video showing a group of uniformed men leading women and children down a dirt road to a remote area where they were brutally executed at gunpoint. In the footage, the armed men accused the victims of being members of the terrorist group Boko Haram. The video quickly gained global attention, with many alleging it was filmed in Cameroon. However, the Cameroonian government denied the claims, asserting that the video was not recorded in their country and that their army was being wrongly accused of killing civilians. Despite these denials, the BBC launched an investigation to uncover the truth. Acting on an anonymous tip, BBC researchers used Google Maps to analyze the terrain seen in the video. They identified the mountain range in the background as being near Krawa Mafa, a village close to the Nigerian border. By examining years of satellite imagery, they determined the killings occurred sometime between March 20th and April 5th, 2015. Further investigation revealed that the Cameroonian government had been dishonest. Officials claimed their army did not use the type of weapons seen in the video. However, BBC analysis showed the guns were Serbian-made Zastava M21 rifles, which are indeed used by Cameroonian forces. The uniforms worn by the perpetrators also matched those issued to Cameroonian soldiers. A month after initially denying the allegations, the government acknowledged that 7 soldiers were under investigation. After the BBC shared its findings, the Cameroonian Minister of Communication confirmed that the 7 suspects had been arrested, disarmed, and were in custody. The government later released the names of the detainees, some of whom were identified in the video as the perpetrators. In 2024, 4 of the soldiers were sentenced to 10 years in prison for the murders, while a 5th received a 2-year sentence for filming and distributing the footage. The remaining 2 soldiers were acquitted, although many were shocked by the leniency of the sentences given the severity of the crimes. The case highlighted the role of detailed analysis, including satellite imagery, in holding perpetrators accountable. Between 2010 and 2011, 11 bodies were discovered near Gilgo Beach on Long Island's South Shore, straddling Nassau and Suffolk counties. Most of the victims were female escorts, and evidence suggested some of the murders dated back as far as 1993. However, it wasn't until 2023 that authorities arrested Rex Hoyerman, a 60-year-old architect and father of 2, linking him to the crimes through DNA evidence, cell phone records, and his Chevy Avalanche, which was tied to the killing. killings. Following his arrest, Rex was charged with the murders of 4 women, and later with the deaths of 2 more after additional DNA evidence emerged. Investigators uncovered chilling details about his activities. Rex had used burner phones to conduct thousands of disturbing searches related to his crimes. Police also found a massive Word document on his basement hard drive in which he meticulously outlined plans for the murders in explicit detail. The document included checklists detailing steps to take before, during, and after the killings, according to court evidence. Hoyerman's crimes are believed to have begun as early as 1993. If convicted, he faces multiple consecutive life sentences. As of 2024, the case remains ongoing, with new and disturbing details continuing to emerge. In 2023, online sleuths uncovered a Google Street View image showing Rex speaking with an unidentified woman outside his office on East 36th Street more than a year before his arrest. While the woman's identity and connection to the case remain unknown, some speculate she may have been a potential victim. However, this has not been confirmed. In the image, Rex is wearing a shirt identical to one he wore during a 2022 YouTube interview, where he discussed his work as an architect at his Fifth Avenue firm. Despite the mounting evidence, Rex's defense attorney, Michael Brown, has claimed that police have the wrong man. In September 2008, a 14-year-old Dutch boy was riding his bike in the town of Groningen, about 110 miles northeast of Amsterdam, when 2 young men approached him from behind, dragged him off his bike, and robbed him of €165 and his phone. Despite the boy's description of the attackers, police struggled to identify the suspects for months as there were no witnesses and little evidence to go on. In March 2009, the boy decided to revisit the scene of the crime using Google Maps Street View. To his astonishment, the Street View car had captured an image of the 2 men walking behind him moments before the mugging occurred. Although the faces of the suspects and the boy were blurred, as is typical with Street View images, the discovery was significant. The boy quickly alerted the police to this new lead. With the Street View photos in hand, authorities requested unblurred versions of the images from Google to help identify the suspects. Once they received the unaltered images, investigators immediately recognized one of the muggers from a prior case. The second suspect was identified as the first man's twin brother. After confirming their identities, Dutch police tracked down and arrested the twins. However, it remains unclear whether they were officially charged or sentenced, and whether the boy ever recovered his stolen phone and money. Kim Wall, a 30-year-old Swedish journalist, was an award-winning reporter renowned for her work on social justice issues around the globe. Her career took her to countries such as Uganda, Cuba, the Marshall Islands, and Kenya, and her reporting was frequently published in esteemed outlets like the New York Times, the South China Morning Post, and the Atlantic. In 2017, while in Copenhagen with her boyfriend, Kim met Peter Madsen, a Danish inventor and self-taught engineer famous for his ambitious projects, including building submarines, designing rockets, and aspiring to launch himself into space. On August 10th of that year, Kim joined Madsen aboard his homemade submarine, the UC-3 Nautilus, for what was supposed to be a brief interview off the Copenhagen coast. Tragically, Kim was never seen again after that trip. When she failed to return, her boyfriend reported her missing, prompting an official investigation. 11 days later, on August 21st, a passing cyclist discovered parts of Kim's dismembered body washed ashore near the area where she had vanished. Over the following weeks, police divers found more of her remains in several weighted-down bags scattered in the Baltic Sea. Peter Madsen, who was taken into custody for questioning, initially denied harming Kim. He claimed she had died accidentally after being struck on the head by the submarine's hatch. However, he later changed his story, alleging she had succumbed to toxic fumes inside the vessel. Investigators found no evidence to support these claims, but did discover 15 stab wounds on Kim's body. After spending time in custody, Madsen eventually confessed to murdering Kim and disposing of her remains in the sea. In April 2018, he was convicted of murder, sexual assault, and desecration of a corpse. He was sentenced to life in prison, where he has remained for the past 6 years. In 2021, Madsen attempted an elaborate prison escape, staging a bomb threat to aid his getaway. However, he was swiftly recaptured and sentenced to an additional 21 months in prison. An eerie detail about the case is that Madsen was captured on Google Maps Street View entering his submarine submarine before the crime. When he later confessed, Madsen claimed he had not intended to kill Kim, but planned to sink the Nautilus permanently, even if it meant both he and Kim would perish inside. To this day, the exact details of how Kim was killed remain unclear. Fortunately, Madsen will spend the rest of his life behind bars, ensuring he never returns to society. In 2002, an Italian businessman sold his villa in Porto Rotondo for a remarkably low price of €280,000. The suspiciously undervalued transaction immediately caught the attention of authorities, prompting the Italian finance police an investigation. To aid their efforts, investigators turned to Google Earth, leveraging satellite imagery to locate the property. One distinctive feature of the villa was its uniquely shaped swimming pool, which became a key detail in identifying the property via satellite images. Once they located the villa, investigators confirmed their suspicions. The sale price was grossly understated. Given that neighboring properties in the area were valued in the high seven figures, it was clear that the businessman had engaged in tax evasion. Armed with evidence from Google Earth, authorities delved deeper into the businessman's finances. They uncovered €7 million in unreported deposits spanning several years, further confirming the scale of the fraud. While details about the case are scarce, the original Italian report provided limited information and did not confirm the exact legal consequences. It's reasonable to assume that the businessman faced significant repercussions. His assets were likely seized, and given the sheer amount of unreported income, he probably spent at least a few years behind bars.